I'll call this meeting of the Johnson City City Commission to order for this Thursday, May the 19th at 6 p.m. We're meeting in the commission chambers here at the Municipal and Safety Building. With the meeting called to order, I'll invite Pastor Pete Tackett from Antioch Baptist Church to bring our invocation. If you'll please stand.
Commissioners and Mayor, we have the privilege every Monday across the city to pray for you all by name. And so tonight it's a privilege for us to pray for you in person. Father, we are thankful for good leadership in our city. We're thankful, Lord, that there's no one at this desk that has not been appointed by you for such a time as this. So, Father, we pray for them great wisdom. We pray for them the ability to discern what the right thing to do and to lead our city, to continue to be a wonderful place to live and raise our families. We pray for them, as Paul told Timothy, that they would govern in such a way that we could live peaceable and holy lives. We pray that unity in our city would continue to be multiplied and character and morality among our young people would be magnified by the decisions these folks make on our behalf. So give them great wisdom tonight in all their endeavors, we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. You'll turn and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was great.
And I want to acknowledge the Town Acres students for leading us in the pledge. I could have invited you to do that. You did a very good job.
They did it anyway.
Ms. Ball, what's first on our agenda?
Well, I would first like to say that, to ask, see, Mayor, if you can ask if there are any employee scholarship recognition folks, because I think we have that on the agenda for the wrong time.
Do we have anyone here with regard to the employee scholarship recognition tonight?
And if not, I would ask that that be removed from the agenda.
There's not anyone if there's not objection, do we need a motion to remove it?
I'll
No,
move to-
we'll remove it, and 4.2 will be removed from the agenda.
Thank you. Your first order of business is consideration of approval of the minutes for the regularly scheduled City Commission meeting held on Thursday, May 5th.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hutter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Abstain.
Okay, your next order of business is proclamations, resolutions, and presentations.
All right, so I'm going to invite our Town Acres TV crew students on up here. Wow, it's amazing. You all have the same shirt on. Somebody must have planned that. Come on over
Ask
here.
them what it means to them. They've been talking about it.
Ask tell me what the shirt means. Anybody want to tell me what the shirt means
To you?
to you? Oh, well, I'll let everybody. Tell me what it means.
Always try your best in whatever you do.
Did somebody else, did you want to say something?
I don't care.
All right. So you all got to spend the day, you had a mock city commission meeting, I understand. You played the role of citizens, city commission, city staff. Is that all correct? And I also understand that we have a video, I believe. I have not seen it, so I have no idea what I'm getting into. But there's a video. Is that right, Ms. Shawn? All right. Let it roll.
Oh, wow.
Agenda is recognitions for the Town Acres Broadcasting TV crew.
Mr. Cantler is the greatest person alive, and all his students are amazing and so smart. And they're really incredible, and I'm very glad to have them here today.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
The next item on the agenda is the addition of the splash pad located on the grounds of the Town Acres Elementary School.
Mayor Isabel,
Do we have any public input?
I agree that they should put it in there because it'll help the kids with being excited and getting a good night's rest. And they can have better exercise so that they can focus better in class.
Thank you.
I think that they should not add it because it would take away their learning time and it would just take longer for them to like get dried and it would take more time.
Arguing against a splash pad.
No, that's right, that's right.
Good job.
So did they just get funding for a splash pad
No,
over 10
no,
acres?
I believe Miss Sandos argued effectively against it. So I think that was
Oh,
pretty
look at
well
the good
shot
picture.
down. I will say this, that your mayor has a better haircut. And so we're glad that you all have been here. I would be curious, I'm going to pass the microphone down, and if you'll just give us your name and something surprising that you learned today, or that learned as a part of this project. So I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to give you just a second to think about it. Again, your name and something surprising that you learned about the city of Johnson City.
Wait, what?
Your name
JC Sandos.
and something surprising that you didn't know. Now, your mom's the city attorney,
And your
which
name.
makes it a little tricky.
Yeah, say your name
Say
out
your
loud.
name again into the microphone.
JC Sandos.
JC.
Very good. Anything surprising?
I thought that the cameras would be like here instead of in there.
Yeah, they do kind of disappear. Good one.
Charlotte Williams. And what I think was really surprising was how much people disagree with each other.
Give it time. Give it time.
Yeah, stay through the whole meeting.
Eva Caldwell, and I didn't know that there was 7 people. I either thought that there was more or less.
Allison Berry, and I did not know there was a joystick to move the camera.
Ah.
Maya Osborne, and I did not know that there are so many buttons to press.
Riley Blankenship, and how much people argue over things, even though I do it myself.
Emery Christie and the fact that the vice mayor keeps candy in his drawer.
Sometimes the meeting gets so long you have to eat something because you're here so long. So, you know.
I didn't know that. We're coming over there. Ooh, look at that.
Sanjana Bangaroo. I think what was surprising it was to find out how our city works, all the different jobs that people have to do in order to keep it working.
All right.
Naira Martin, and I was surprised at how much commotion there can be up there.
Isabel Hilton, and what surprised me was, like what somebody just said, there is so many buttons to press in there. It's like, which one?
Lillian Tuttle, I did not know that there were so many commissioners. Anne Marie Bat, and I didn't know that there was a city hall at all.
That was the most honest thing ever.
My name is Magnolia Allen, and me and my mom learned where the city hall actually is.
My name is Doug Keller. I'm the sponsor for TATV. We've done TATV at Town Acres for 19 years now. This is the first time we've got to come to City Hall. We really appreciate y'all letting us come. We had a great time yesterday. It was fantastic. We got to see how things work. These guys work really hard, and this is the first time the 5th grade's going to be back at Town Acres next year. I get to have them for 2 years, so it was an experience getting to see what they do back there, because that is what we are looking forward to doing next year, because we don't have to train on how to do things like sitting still in a chair or making sure our stories have punctuation and all that kind of stuff. They are too. I mean, they're better than when they started. But we really appreciate you guys letting us come up here, and thank you very much.
And if you think 5 commissioners is a lot, when I was first elected to the county commission, there were 25 commissioners. It's like a whole classroom. So,
Get in the camera.
well, you put 25 politicians in a room, they'll get on the camera. So we're very proud of you guys. Thank you for coming, and good luck in your second go around as the oldest group at Town Acres. So. Oh, you ready for a picture? You want people to squeeze in, or what are we doing here? Or did you already do that?
Do you want us to come here in the back? We're gonna photobomb you back here. Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys. How come there's only girls?
That's the ones that run out.
Oh,
We open it to everybody. Those are the ones that came.
all right. You're gonna take over the world. I have a feeling the chambers is gonna empty out.
Now, you all are welcome to stay for the whole rest of the meeting. I would hate for you to miss the fun.
Are we dismissed now? Are we dismissed?
Do you want to call the next one?
Where are we going?
Commission, our next order of business is a presentation of a proclamation recognizing the community reading program, One Story, One Community.
All right, if you'll come on up. Well, yeah, however you can get here most efficiently. So this, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. And it begins, whereas shared stories have a powerful impact on all cultures, spark conversations, and bring people together in unexpected ways. And whereas the Johnson City Public Library is promoting a reading program called One Story, One Community, and inviting as many people as possible to read the same book from May 13 to July 28, 2022. Whereas the uniting story is A Big Fish, a novel of mythic proportions by Daniel Wallace, first published in 1998. And whereas this story has intergenerational appeal as it follows a son trying to get to know his dying father, whose life stories have always sounded more like tall tales than truth. And whereas the Johnson City Public Library has free hard copies of the book available at the circulation desk, hard copies available for checkout, as well as ebooks and audiobook versions available through their online Hoopla service. And whereas the Johnson City Public Library will also be promoting fun events throughout the summer to go along with the theme of the Big Fish story, including showing the 2003 PG-13 movie adaptation at Wallace Theater on June 4, and hosting the book's author, Daniel Wallace, for an author talk on June 30. Now, therefore, I, Joe Wise, the mayor of the city of Johnson City, do hereby proclaim May 13 to July 28 the One Story, One Community reading program. And so I'll give you that.
And I've brought copies of our book for the commission and city manager, you all to read, share, and repeat. So I brought copies, sorry. I brought copies for the commission and city manager, Ms. Ball, to read, share, and repeat throughout the community. So please enjoy these. And then you could have a book club meeting together or with the library staff if you're interested. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next order of business is a presentation from the Chamber of Commerce with an update of census and demographic information for the community.
Good evening. Good to see you again. And every so often, as a chamber, we can collaborate a lot of information from different sources, from the Northeast Tennessee Realtors, from CBAD at the university, from the Economic Council at the university, and several of our businesses. And it's been intriguing to see what's going on in Johnson City and Washington County over the past 18 months. So we wanted to come and provide just a little bit of insight of what we're seeing from the business community standpoint. One of the most intriguing things was from the Realtors.com and Wall Street Journal in April proclaimed that Johnson City was one of the 17th emerging communities in the United States based upon solid employment, attractive amenities, lifestyle options, and access to the outdoors and desirable housing. The index also indicates markets that believe to have good areas for homeowners with expectation for price appreciation. If you can see the price, $350,000, that is in March. It's already gone up $10,000 in April. It's really unique of what's happening in our real estate market, and I'll show you a little bit more about that right now. The other thing we're looking at in this model is other communities that are similar to us. And Burlington, North Carolina was probably one of the only ones that was closest, ranked 14th. Many of these were outside of the Southeast or their larger metro areas. So again, Johnson City is being acknowledged and recognized outside our region for the quality of the things that we have here. In January 10th, we looked at home sales market share for the region. And Bristol had 17% share of total sales. Greenville had 12% of total sales, Kingsport had 28%, and Johnson City had 42% of the market share of total sales of home sales for the past year. So that's all of 2021. And the only category that Johnson City didn't lead here was homes under $100,000 in price. So we started looking at what inventory do we have? And the third highlighted line there is Johnson City, of course. And in July of 2016, we had over 1,000 homes on the market. In July of 2019, we only had 661. In March, we had 138. Today, we had 65. So our housing inventory is very condensed. It's from 2019 to 2022, it's 80% less than what it was in 2019. The other thing that's been intriguing to us is the number of homes over $750,000 for sale in the Johnson City MSA. Currently, there are 48 homes with a list price of $1 million or more, and Johnson City region has the most of these listings at 28. Bristol at 8, Kingsport at 7, and Greenville at 5. Right now, those 65 listings we had, 11 of those are over $750,000. And it's interesting to see who are these home buyers and where are they coming from and why are they coming to our area. So we took our data from Bright Ridge, and they were able to give us the general data from people who were making connections with Bright Ridge for the past 18 months, from October 2020 to December 2021. And 21% of those that had connected with them or moved here were coming from North Carolina. Second behind was Florida, then Virginia, then California, and then New York. And slightly behind that is Texas and Illinois that are coming into our market. So we thought that was interesting, but really what was intriguing to us was what are the age demographics of the folks that are moving into our area. And if you start at the Gen Zs, and the Gen Zs are right now 25 years old and younger, and we took out 21-year-olds because it gets skewed because the number of people at ETSU. So we go from 22 years old to 25 years old as Gen Z was 20.5%, and the millennials from 26 years of age to 42 years of age was 36.4%, or 57% of all those that are relocated during this time are 42 years and younger. Traditionally, we've been the place that everyone says the 60 and over are the ones that have been moving here. And it's also intriguing that this is some of the generation that's also paying for those homes at the higher prices. Because right now, we're struggling with workforce housing. We're struggling for starter homes. So it's an interesting market for the young people. During the pandemic, the Census put out a publication, and it showed what communities struggled or where were people coming from. And you see from the bottom of the list, Manhattan, San Francisco, Washington, Nashville, were all communities that were losing or people migrating out of. And the communities that were growing, and of course, Johnson City and Kingsport were growing, Knoxville, Franklin, Tennessee, Myrtle Beach, and Boise. Boise's been one of those interesting communities that just all of a sudden exploded. So why are they coming here? And the line on the bottom is a salary of $50,000 in Johnson City would need to be $63,000 in Asheville because of the cost of living index increase of being in that community versus being here. I think we're seeing that from a lot of the relocation for people from Western North Carolina that are looking to move over the mountain. That they're seeing it from a better quality of life and a better cost of living, or the dollar goes a little bit further in Johnson City in the Washington County area than it does in Asheville. Yahoo Finance on April 23rd for the 11 places, the title of the article was 11 Places Where Cost of Living is Still Low Despite Inflation. And the quote from Eric Nelson is, despite the rising inflation, Johnson City is one of the places where you will have to pay approximately half the cost of living as compared to Houston. So again, people outside of this region are looking at this and reading this and are looking at moving and doing their research about East Tennessee and about Johnson City. And of course, Jonesboro has been rated as one of the most charming small towns in the state, or the #1 small town in the state. The other thing we wanted to kind of bring to your attention was where are we on the workforce and our job situation. And Commissioner Brock asked me a question earlier today, so I had to go back and do a little more research. And our average weekly wage in the first quarter of this year was up 14.2% versus last year. So the wage index is definitely increasing. And our year-over-year non-farm employment has been up 2.8%. Our current unemployment rate is 2.6%, which is below pre-pandemic levels. And these are the jobs as of April 26th that we had published as open. Healthcare and social assistance. And for instance, that 998, 50 of those are IT jobs that they need at Ballard. It's not just healthcare and some maintenance and some other things that show up in this category. But Washington County's labor force participation rate was at 59.1%, up for the third straight month, and in the U.S. it's about 62.4%. So again, we're catching up to a national average for workforce participation, but we still have a lot of opportunities. And the conversations I have with our businesses is staffing right now is one of the key challenges that they're having. A lack of applicants and then lack of qualified applicants to come into the positions they have open. So the one thing we looked at from the chamber is for Johnson City to have healthy growth right now, we did a SWOT analysis. And we looked at what the strengths were. We knew we had strong employment, desirable housing, high quality of life, and reasonable cost of living as our strengths. Our weaknesses right now are limited housing inventory, and we're behind in development. We have one national developer for housing right now, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to keep up with the demand that we have at this point. Our opportunities are workforce recruitment and creative class ecosystem. It's been intriguing to me of the people that I've met who have moved here that have a creative class employment. Whether they work for Disney, where they work for Apple, some major companies that they're working remotely and living in Northeast Tennessee and living in Johnson City. So, and they're bringing with them opportunities for that can benefit this area. For instance, recently we've had several national commercials that were filmed in downtown Johnson City for Sherwin-Williams, Intel, and Wild Turkey. And during a pandemic, they were still doing those things. So there's the digital media program at the university is helping attract and recruit people and retain people here, but there's also others that are moving into the area and looking at this area as an opportunity for filmmaking, for video, for digital media. And we've had conversations with Bob Raines, who is the Tennessee Entertainment Commissioner, about opening up an office in Northeast Tennessee, and we'll continue those conversations. They have one, of course, in Nashville because of the music. They have one in Knoxville because of Scripps and all the Discovery Channel and all that's in Knoxville. But we're hoping we're going to have enough critical mass that the Tennessee Film Commission can look at Northeast Tennessee as an opportunity. Again, our threats right now are inflation and supply chain. Some of the conversations I've had with developers in other areas that they're doing developments right now, that they don't even have the transformers to do the temporary work in their development, and they're having to build and bring in generators to do the work. We haven't seen that here yet, but I know from Bright Ridge's standpoint, if I walked in today and said I want to do a development, it'll take about 12 to 15 months for them to get the transformers and the equipment in place for that development to get up and going. So supply chain is still one of those challenges. And then the length of the recession. The U.S. Chamber came out the other day and they said, we hope that this is a short-lived recession. We feel we will go into it because of the increase of the interest rates, but we're hoping by the end of 2023, early 2024, that we can have a better reset from the recession. Our goal as a community is to be prepared for when that happens, that we're looking at what our housing needs are, if we're continuing to grow, what our infrastructure needs are, and then what business needs that we have. So I just wanted to bring to you some of these updates. This is information we share with our stakeholders and our members, and to see if you had any questions.
Bob, I would just acknowledge, I think 5 years ago, I remember seeing a chart that showed our population broken down by 5-year age brackets or 10-year age brackets. And if you imagine a straight horizontal line, that was our population. And then we had two big jumps, and the jumps were 18 to 25 because BTSU is attracting an influx of population, although only temporary. And then in the 65 plus, the retirees. And so it's interesting to see your stats of what the inflow looks like being a little bit more distributed. We don't prefer one age group to another. We just need there to be balance, or things begin to fall apart. And so it's encouraging to see that influx in that 25 to 55 range, because it would bring that line back into a little bit more of a consistent pattern.
And these are conversations we've had with Dr. Barnett to look at if more 42-year-olds are moving in, they're bringing in school-age children, and what impact would that have on the school system? So again, hopefully we're looking at where we are and where we're going, and it's healthy growth of where we need to be.
I don't know what that was. This is a rhetorical question, I know, but for your business members, is it still workforce that's number one that is causing the biggest challenges to them? However, they're still seeing, if they're in retail, robust sales and business opportunities still are out there in front of us.
Yes. I have several advanced manufacturing type organizations that they're looking to expand and grow. I have one who we're working with Alicia Summers in regards to finding more space for them. They need 75,000 square feet of space to expand in the operations. And then if and when they do that, they're going to need 200, 300 employees. I will say another thing we're kind of watching is what's happening in Bristol. Will the casino and some of that development up there cannibalize some of our employment? And we want to be cognizant as to we probably need to start thinking about how do we recruit, attract, and retain workforce in this market if instead of them leaking out to another community.
Thanks a lot. That was very interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commission, our next order of business, or your next order of business, is to consider approval of a temporary occasion license for Blue Plum, P.O. Box 1823, Johnson City, Tennessee.
Give your name and address, please.
Misty Ayers, 879 Bonds Farm Lane in Jonesboro, Tennessee.
Have you read the rules and regulations concerning the sale? No, this is a street closure.
No.
Beer license. You've
beer
read,
license.
thank you. Read the rules and regulations concerning the sale of alcohol in the city of Johnson. And do you agree to abide by them? All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes. Tell us about your event. Some of us know, but
Blue Plum
remind us, it's
Festival
been a
will
couple
be,
years. So-
The first weekend in June, Friday and Saturday. We'll have live music. One of our top performers is one of the top 10 right now on the radio stations. So we're very excited about that, the new upcoming artist. Lots of vendors and arts and crafts and music and all kinds of fun stuff.
Will there be a Ferris wheel?
You check the
Absolutely.
10-day forecast? It always seems to rain at Blue
It's
Plum,
not going to
doesn't
rain
it?
this year. We made that executive decision. It will not rain.
Thank you.
Good. We'll see you
That it?
there. Thanks.
Am I good?
What, I think we read, did we read?
We
Yeah.
did.
Okay.
We got it.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
So the next order of business is street closures. While Andy Hauser's coming up, I would ask you all to remove item 6.2. We've learned that that event has been canceled. Is that correct, Andy?
That is correct. They just called us this afternoon to let us know they want to cancel.
So Janet, I'm assuming we need a motion to remove that one, or do we?
We can just take it out.
been
So we're
withdrawn.
removing 6.2.
Okay.
We're moving 6.2.
So
their
the next order of
request.
business is road closure request for Owl's Nest Clothing and more.
Okay, so Owl's Nest is requesting a partial closure of Cherry Street as outlined in the provided site plan on Saturday, May 21st from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. for their mental health awareness event. The Special Events Committee, including Traffic, Police, and Public Works, have reviewed the site plan and find the closure safe and appropriate, and we would recommend approval.
Are there questions for staff?
I'll move for approval.
We have
Second.
a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes. Would you like to tell us anything about your event?
Just really excited about it. Mental health has hit my family personally this year, and it's really opened our eyes into what is going on in this area, as well as across the nation, and the help that is out there and the lack of help that is out there. But more so than anything, we just want people to start talking about it. So we're going to have different agencies, from psychiatrists to therapists to even hospitals, being able to talk about what they can provide, as well as music therapy, art therapy, dance therapy, food. And so a variety of outlets that people can use to get through some of the tough times, but just a place where they can feel safe and say, you know what, I feel this.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank
effort.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Commission, the next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
I would like to pull one item, 7.2.4, just because I'd like to learn more about it.
It's going to pull that too.
You're welcome.
He needs to
And,
have his first.
Oh, yeah, sure, really? Okay, well, we all have questions for you, Mr. Ross. Commissioner Hunter, do you have anything to pull?
711.
711. Commissioner Brock?
No?
Vice Mayor?
Nothing else?
And Commissioner Murphy, did you have anything else?
Same one you pulled.
Okay, well, let's do 7.1.1 first.
And I would ask Mr. Penzola to come up and tell us about this one.
You have two things. One is the state maintenance. All state routes are maintained inside the city by the city, reimbursed by TDOT. So you'll have a total number there in the contract. It's an annual thing, ongoing, rarely shifts unless there's annexations. I think they did go up on the rates a little bit. We have to incur the expense, and then we get reimbursed. If it doesn't snow, we won't get all the money back. If it does snow, depending on the amount, that's when we determine whether or not we'll get it all. The second is the mowing and litter contract for the interstate. State of Tennessee would typically do six mows a year. We try to do 9 or so. So we get reimbursed for that money for both litter collection and mowing along the interstate. Probably the only community that does that. We've been doing it for 25 years.
Questions for Mr. Pinzola?
So back in February, the contracts that we approved for mowing, that's the expense side. This would be the reimbursement piece of that, or at least a part of that?
Yes, as it relates to the interstate.
Interstate, yeah, okay.
Thank you. And I guess the next item is 7.2.4.
And I would like to ask Assistant City Manager Trivett to come up, but I'd also like to invite.
I would really prefer to hear from new employee Brian Ross.
And I would like for Brian Ross to come up and.
This is an initiation, sir.
Introduce himself. He is our new facilities manager. He's got big shoes to step into, so he is filling in Randy's slot. So I think both of them, and we welcome you, Brian, to the city, and this is your induction to be able to talk to us about this project.
Sign in first tee, I didn't remember.
Where this is at on here. Is it on here? Wendy put it on here. I do not know. It was just pictures of the TVA ballpark.
Should have been in PowerPoint.
Yeah, where's that? Perfect. Yes, I'm very glad to introduce Mr. Brian Ross. He started about a week and a half ago working for the city. He brings a lot of experience and a lot of project management and construction experience to our team, and we're so happy to have him. And I invited him to come to the meeting tonight just in case you pulled this item.
And he made the fatal mistake of telling me that's why he was here.
So that's why it got pulled. But he will be overseeing, if this is approved tonight by you, he will be overseeing the reconstruction of this outfield wall. And so Charlie went over today. The Doughboys have asked us to look at replacing this wall, and we did a few months ago. This is marine grade plywood. It's on a 20-foot tall outfield wall, and you can see it's delaminating, it's rotting in certain places. The life of that wall is just completely, it's reached its useful life. And so when they ask us how we would want to, how to replace it, they ask us to use metal panels. So when we wrote the specifications to replace this wall and put out for bid, we used corrugated metal panels similar to Elizabethton's baseball field and other baseball fields that have the same thing. That way we can get powder coated metal. It'll be 20-foot lengths that'll go straight up and down. And so the framing behind all of this plywood is in very good shape. So they'll be able to remove the plywood, use the existing framing to install the metal panels, and then put a coping or a cap on top of it. But you can see all through the outfield, there are all kinds of different problems and different issues.
Yeah, there's some missing sponsors.
Yeah, they need some more sponsors. But you can see there, that's a good picture from a distance that just shows every piece of plywood is in rough shape. So they're putting up a new scoreboard and a new monitor. And so they ask us if we would install that. Now, even if you approve it tonight, there's about if we pick a standard color, there's a 3-week lead time. And they have the staff ready to go ahead and start installing once it comes in. If we pick a non-standard or a non-stock color, then it'll be about 5 weeks. So, but what we're gonna do, based on season right now,
if you all approve it, we're gonna go through the process of getting the insurance, getting all the contracts and the PO and everything issued, but we're probably gonna hold off until the fall, till all the seasons are over, that we can work in that.
Will our staff install that?
No, the contract is for installation
Okay.
as well. Yeah, it was $108,000 for the wall, and then about $17,000 and something for the guttering. And the guttering on the grandstand roof is very important, because right now it runs off of there and runs under the grandstand, and it's just a real muddy mess, and all that water is what's causing a lot of that structural steel paint to peel, and it's lead-based paint, so that's part of the budget to abate that lead-based paint and get that under there, get all that repainted and fixed and restored. But we want to keep the gutter or the water away from that as well.
On the fencing that you're going to put up?
Yes.
Is it going to be fairly hard to put the sponsors up on that compared to just nailing them up on the wood?
Well, there'll be a different way we'll have to attach it, but it'll probably be through some type of a sheet metal screw or something they'll put on there. I'm not exactly sure, but they use that same metal at other stadiums and use sponsors the same way. So it'll be like a square corrugated, so it'll set flat against it, and then they can run like a sheet metal screw, because you're not really trying to keep water out of anything, because the backside is open.
Mr. Trivett, I have a question.
Yes.
What is the life expectancy for the wall? What kind of finish you have on it? Is it
It'll be
powder?
It'll be a powder coat painted wall, and realistically, most of the time, those corrugated metal panels will have like a 50-year life or a limited lifetime warranty. And a lot of times the warranty number of years that comes on those is because of fading of the paint color. And we won't be very much concerned with that, because we're really going to go with a green like it is now. And then in the center field, based on baseball rules, you have to have black behind the pitcher. Yeah.
Any questions?
So, Mr. Ross, how would you enhance Mr. Trivett's presentation of these details?
I think you pretty much covered it. No, I'm second week on the job, so far so good, and I'm learning quickly. And
Yes.
How many buildings do we have?
150.
See, that's a few places to check out.
So-
So you've been to all of them by now, I
I've been
trust.
to many of them. I've met many of my colleagues. Look forward to meeting many more. And
So is it going to hurt the outfielder worse when they run into this wall versus the wood wall?
That's exactly what I thought too, but they prefer it. I mean, it came as a request from them, so. But I thought the same thing, and then I
More
thought baseball's
patience.
hitting it. You're gonna start having dings and,
Like
blocks in it and
the
everything
Coke
else.
many at Putt-Putt that's got all the dents in the
That's
back of
accurate.
it.
It
Yeah.
shows it's been put to its
That's right.
purpose.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. All right, is there action on the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. If not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Your next order of business is second reading and public hearing for an ordinance authorizing the conveyance to Eastern 8 Community Development Corporation, a certain parcel of real property owned by the city of Johnson City and located in the 9th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee. Mr. Preston.
Thank you, Ms. Ball. Let me open this up here real quick. Just as a reminder from the presentation you received at first reading, and as a reminder, on first reading, there were actually two items on that agenda. There was the conveyance, and then there was the ordinance. And so now the agreement is now tied to the ordinance and carries through second and third reading. But just as a quick reminder, this is what we call the, and loosely, the Langston area consolidated home build for our local CDCs. And in this particular case, we've got but there are three available lots here, two of which, these two right here, have been purchased by Habitat and by ASP. And the lot that we currently own, 221 East Myrtle, is proposed for conveyance to Eastern 8. It was originally proposed for conveyance to ASP, but because of a clouded title issue, ASP was not able to accept it. And in this particular case, Eastern 8 can accept it because they are proposing to build a rental home, which is great because not only is this an opportunity for several new homes along this block face in an area where the city and the community is realizing new investment, but it also mixes up the ownership types. And so it's great to have some potential new homeowners, but also places for those who need to rent and choose to rent. Looking quickly at the proposed home here on the left is the home that is proposed, and I will say still, by Eastern 8. This is a unit that they built up in Kingsport. The unit on 221 East Myrtle would have an additional window added here, as well as a little stoop over, or a little cover over this side porch here. And then they had also agreed to upgrade the cladding material in the porch right here to shake style material, similar to what you all saw in your visit to Greenville, South Carolina. So that's still the plan. However, I want to give you a little bit of an update, and this is still in the works. This has not been finalized yet, so I'm careful to add that asterisk. But having joined Sherry Trent and a number of other folks at the Eastern 8 open house for 1808 East Unaka, we were excited to hear that the Auburn University Rural Studio, which was a partnership on the reconstruction of that home, which has turned out just phenomenally, they have no interest in rushing back to Auburn, Alabama anytime soon. They would really love to stay here and do more homes in this partnership with Eastern 8. They're also partnering with ASP. And in fact, in this particular home, ASP built it for Eastern 8. So there's a partnership that already exists. And so there were these three entities working together on this one. And so in conversation during the open house, there was some suggestions that potentially another Auburn University home could be built here, also for rental. So we're working through that, but I think one of the exciting things about that is it brings a fresh, contemporary design, also brings really high-quality materials, but at the same time able to maintain affordability. The other thing that's phenomenal about the home at 1808 East Unaka is the energy efficiency rating on this home is unreal. And so great for long-term, low maintenance and reduced costs for the future owner. So if you haven't seen 1808 East Unaka, go by and check it out. It's right across from the country club. Turned out great. And so we're excited that Auburn wants to stick around in the area and participate in additional homes.
Is that a rehab or a new build?
It was a reconstruction.
Okay.
It was a tear down and reconstruction. So we're still working through those details, but bottom line, even if the Kingsport model was built or this one, I'm confident and excited that you're going to have a very high quality home on this part of East Unaka. Myrtle.
Are there questions for Mr. Mitchell before we open the public hearing? Is there anything else you need to add?
No, sir.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on 4807-22. This is conveyance of the property to Eastern 8. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing.
Move for approval.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Without objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hutter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Thank you, Preston. Commission, your next order of business is the second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to rezone approximately 16 acres located at Dalton Drive from R2 District to R2C District. Peyton, welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. In front of you, I have a request to rezone 16 acres from R2 to R2C at kind of where Dalton Drive intersects with Newbern, and it would just follow through with this curve, and then it'd be a continuation of Dalton Drive. And it's to allow for a 55-lot single-family subdivision. Here's the site plan that we talked about last time, and again, I've left the site data table in here so you can see that the minimum lot size would be 6,000 square feet. However, the average lot size is 9,000 square feet. Again, the minimum lot width is 60 feet. The average is going to be 70. And just like we talked about last time, from a planning perspective, you know, it's not the most even piece of land. And so in order to get units on it and be able to build houses, sometimes there is a little bit of flexibility. As you can see, the lots are not all perfectly square, rectangular. Again, staff believes that it's in character with the surrounding zoning. You can see right here, it's adjacent to R4. The surrounding right here is R2. You can see that there's another R2C over here. You've got R2B slightly to the north, and then the RPs down here, as well as another R4. So it does serve as a good transition zone going from R4 to a slightly denser R2C and then into the R2. The future land use map does propose, sorry, go
Can I
ahead.
interrupt? On Newbern, do you have a sense of what about what the size of those lots are adjacent to it that are in the R2? Because those don't look like very big lots.
I am not sure how big that is off the top of my head. No, sir. But just driving through, they're not huge lots. No, sir. And you can kind of see that a lot of these lots are fairly comparable to some of the R2Bs. But yeah, I can't give you any numbers off the top of my head. The future land use map does predict the site go residential. Here's a picture of it. It's really pretty. There was a neighborhood meeting. There were 4 people in attendance. There were some traffic concerns, but most of those traffic concerns were actually regarding a road that was not a part of this proposal, Greenwood Drive. And so overall, there was actually positive feedback from the neighbors in the community about this proposal. Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 9-0, and staff is recommending approval.
Could you go back to the slide that just shows Dalton? There are 2 ways of getting in and out of this new subdivision.
Do you want me to go to a vicinity map? Would that be helpful?
I think it's the one that just had the streets labeled.
One that had the layout of the streets,
Yeah.
just
First
with
one, I
I'm
the
sorry.
lots on them.
Go right back.
Oh, the site plan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, that one probably had it.
This one?
Back one more. No,
No,
the other way.
the other way. Dalton, right there, that's fine, right there.
Okay.
So Dalton then,
It's green.
it must be stubbed off now or something.
Yes.
But it will run through the neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am, correct. Yeah, so both of these, Dalton right here is stubbed off, and then Dalton right here is stubbed off.
So that was planned for future development then.
Could we name it something
residential.
other than Dalton, just to confuse people? Like for the middle section? You know,
I think that
Dalton
our
Center.
addressing
I was gonna
department
ask,
would not
there's
be
no
very
issue-
happy with that.
There's not any issues with addresses on this project? Remember that one?
All right. Are
Thank
there
you.
other questions for staff before we open public hearing?
Public hearing.
All right. We'll open public hearing on 480822. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or against? All right. If you give us your name and address, please.
Frank Wood, 2904 South Greenwood Drive. I'm the developer.
So you're in favor?
I am in favor.
Okay.
I would recommend voting yes. You know, and to speak, I didn't pay Bob to come in here and say that, but I think the struggle for starter homes in this town, the 65, the inventory of 65 right now, and then with the 2 weaknesses being limited housing inventory behind in developments, I think this would fit right in with that.
Are you selling the individual lots to different contractors or?
That would be the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, and I live there, so I live where that road is sketched in, that Peyton can show you.
I'll go to the aerial.
Yeah, so I live right here. This is me. So I've owned that for a while, and, it just seems to be an appropriate time to do the development.
My question is, how soon can you get these things done?
Yeah, I know, good question. I would echo the same, another thing he said about, with the power board and getting transformers and infrastructure. That's gonna be the hard part.
Are there other questions for Mr. Wood? Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor or opposed? If not, we'll close public hearing and turn to the commission for action on second reading.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Commission, your next order of business is an ordinance number 4809-22, which is a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to amend Title 8, Chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the Code of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee. Sunny Sandos will be presenting this to you.
Good afternoon. Whenever this was before you a few weeks ago on first reading, there were a number of questions and revisions requested. We've taken that under consideration, and what we've brought back for you hopefully addresses some of those concerns. The first revision is in 8.2.10. This is with regard to the temporary business beer license. There had been discussion regarding any discretion if, in the event that 30 days was not a sufficient amount of time for business to be able to meet those final requirements. What we've done is added a line at the end. So it now states, discretion to extend temporary business beer license pursuant to this section shall only be upon agreement of the city attorney and director of development services, and said extension shall not exceed a period of 10 days. Whenever a license is going to come before you for this type of temporary business beer license, the director of development services or his or her designee is going to come before you and say, provide testimony during the meeting stating that they anticipate that this business will be able to obtain its certificate of substantial completion, hopefully before the next meeting. So what we're really looking at is a 14-day period. So what we're doing now is extending that to allow an extra 10 days on the 30. So you're looking at approximately 40 days now. It wouldn't be anticipated that that amount of time should be encountered. However, we do know that there are a lot of unforeseen circumstances in building at this time, and we don't know what that's going to look like in the near future either. So hopefully this allows that extra extension of time that the applicant does not have to come before you, that it can be handled internally by staff. The next set of revisions is with regard to section 8.228 on the dispensing equipment. You'll see that the language has been pared down quite a bit from first reading. One change is under 4A. Previously, there had been a time restriction on when persons under the age of 21 would be permitted on the premises. That time restriction is gone. The language has been absorbed and addressed under 4G, which requires that the dispensing equipment be located in a single common area, which is open only to all legal drinking age customers. So those under the legal drinking age would be permitted anywhere else on the premises while the business is open and in operation. The second change, previously there had been a number limit on the number of patrons on the premises with regard to how many servers had to be present. You'll note that all those number restrictions are now removed. The requirement now is that the licensee shall have at least one server at each point of access into the clearly marked dispensing equipment perimeter to ensure that no customers enter except those customers wearing a distinctive non-tamper wristband and the microchip embedded wristband. That allows that there be a qualified server at any point of access to that designated area that is only for those over the age of 21 and that have purchased their dispensing equipment wristband. That change also absorbs the other significant change, which is the requirement of a wristband on those under the legal drinking age. Previously, there had been bans of one distinctive color for those approximately between the ages of 14 to 20, one band, a non-tamper band for those over the age of 21, and then the microchip band. Now it is only one non-tamper band for those over the age of 21, and then the microchip embedded wristband if that's what the patrons so choose to purchase. So those are the changes that are before you on second reading.
Are there questions for Ms. Sandos? This is a public hearing, so, I'm sorry, were there questions? Okay. I'll open the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposition to 480922? Seeing no one, will close public hearing. Turn to the commission for action on second reading.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock,
I just want to first say thank you for addressing these issues we brought up, and I think you've really tagged it well, so thank you, and yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Thanks, Amy.
Your next order of business is an ordinance, the third reading of ordinance 4804-22, an ordinance to rezone .885 acres at 1105 Emoryville Road from R2 district to R2C district to create 4 single-family lots. And Whitney, welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Y'all have seen this before in my absence, but essentially there's no new information, but this is a development that proposes 4 single-family lots on .88 acres on Emoryville Road. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Are there questions for staff? Seeing none, I guess you're off the hook. No questions. We'll turn to the commission for action on third reading, 4804-22. Need a motion from somebody.
Well, I'll make a motion for approval.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve. Motion and a second. Is there discussion? I just want to acknowledge that we've heard from the neighbors and certainly am sensitive to their comments. I think some of what we've heard tonight in this meeting, just about housing and affordable housing and availability of housing, what we're talking about with this rezoning is the difference between 3 houses and 4 houses, I think. And so in the grand scheme of things, if it's in your backyard, it's a really big deal. But in the grand scheme of things, it's 4 houses or 3 houses. And perhaps unbeknownst to most of us in Johnson City, but the idea of single-family zoning is not necessarily something that is going to continue unchallenged in the future. You can look at the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or see court cases in California where single-family zoning is being eliminated almost in its entirety. And so I would say to the neighbors, R2C and some development occurring there does more to secure the quality of that development as a single-family development than us rejecting it and it sitting idle for 3 or 4 years. Because in 3 or 4 years, you very well could have something that is far more intensive in its use. And so for that reason, I plan to vote for it, but understand, I've certainly heard the feedback to the contrary, but it's with recognizing those other factors that I'm arriving at that decision.
I do have a question for Whitney. Is there an agreement from Mr. Bagley that the construction of the homes would be single-story?
That is, he stated that in the public hearing. However, that is not a binding agreement. So I just need to make sure that if, as an approval, that would not be in a binding agreement.
Thanks.
Are there other comments or questions, or are we ready to call the roll? If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock,
I'm still going to vote no. I've really struggled with this. I think 3 homes would be more appropriate for the size property that is. in that kind of neighborhood. And, you know, if there were some agreement that it was going to be single-story, I think it might make a difference to me, but I'm going to say no.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler,
I'm gonna say no also. I just think the lots are too small for that neighborhood.
and Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Thank you, Whitney. The next order of business is a third reading of an ordinance to rezone an unnumbered parcel at the northeast corner of South Rhone Street and University Parkway from R1 district to PB district and R4 district. Peyton will present this one.
Good evening, Commission. So first, I want to start off with this rezoning with the history. So you have heard this on first and second reading, and the rezoning itself has not actually changed, but this was the concept plan that you have heard for first and second reading. So I just wanted to bring that back, and this is what you guys have seen so far. Now again, going back to the rezoning, we are planning on, or the request is to extend the planned business district line up to right here, and the remainder of this R1 to go to R4. Here is the new concept plan that would be associated with this rezoning. So again, the rezoning has not changed. It's on third and final reading. But this is the concept plan that's going to be binding with this rezoning. And you'll see here that the biggest difference is East Highland being closed and actually coming back over across this lot. And the new access point would be at the top of a hill. So again, this point right here is going to be a full access, and it meets the site distance requirements. And this entrance right here, like we've seen the whole time, is just a right in, right out. They are proposing 5 townhomes, 2 right here and 3 right here. And the closed right-of-way, well, half of the closed right-of-way from this East Highland would go and join that property.
Join the townhome property?
Yes, ma'am. And so here's a better graphic. I know sometimes those black and white diagrams can get a little hard to read. So you can see this shows it pretty well. This is the part where it's green is going to be closed. So this home faces South Rhone, and this home's driveway will come off of East Highland like this. And there are plans to bring East Highland across the lot and have the access point be right there. And I just want to talk for a really quick second about why we've done this and why staff has been great working with the applicant, and we've gotten to this conclusion. So these pictures right here are from the top of the hill, and you can see the site distance is, you know, really great. You can see all the way down to the light. You can see all the way down here. Again, here's just a quick clip of cars driving by. Wondering what the heck I'm doing standing there taking this video. Now here's a picture of the property from East Highland. And it is very difficult to see. And so the proposal that's in front of you guys actually solves an existing problem that's not even associated with this rezoning. So not only has there been the best option for this rezoning and the safest option, but it's actually solved a problem that already exists. For that reason, staff is recommending approval, and the Planning Commission also reheard this new concept plan, and they are recommending approval as well.
So I just want to acknowledge the applicant for being patient and cooperative through some of this, and I want to acknowledge staff, because I think we all looked at, this corner's been a dilemma. I mean, I think this is probably the 4th or 5th thing that's come on this corner in the last 5 years that I've heard. And Highland was always a challenge, and so this is dealing with that property, but also dealing with that problem. And I think it should be acknowledged and commended, because it is solving a number of different problems. And so, you know, as much as it pains me, Mr. Penzola, thank you.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. No, and it really is. And so the planning and the public works and all, there's just a lot of parts that had to happen. And I think when this is done, anybody that's familiar with how it is now and sees how it is then will come away with the impression that it was made better. So.
Yeah, I have one other quick question on the closure of that end of Highland, and you said it would go with the townhouses. The house that's right on the corner, the drive comes off of Rhone Street, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but I'm sure they probably used to park in front of their house as well. Will that remain asphalt, or is the asphalt going to be torn up in front of that?
I'm not sure what the plans are for that.
Okay. I mean, we've talked with those folks, right? They understand what's happening?
I know that there've been conversations with them, but
People at the corner don't park on the road.
Okay.
The gentleman, he'll have access, as you can see, in the curve. Our trick is how we're gonna get the water to flow as it currently flows down the street, because we have to keep it flowing. So we'll probably have like a gutter pan or something that flows on that half of the closure.
So is the green part asphalt going to remain, or is you going to,
That will
Demo
be
that.
taken out, except, I think what we do is we'll close, when you close a road, half of the property goes to one side and half the other. Probably just close the half that would be retained by the owner or by the developer. The other half will be used for some sort of public easement.
okay. But they'll be happy with the appearance of what it's going
Yes,
to,
we'll
once that road.
accommodate
But you're
his-
gonna tear up the old asphalt, right? I mean,
Yes.
so,
You asked that a lot better than
yeah, I mean, so there's not gonna be the old Highland left
No.
there.
Okay.
It's just gonna be grass or something.
Right, it'll be a
presumably.
drainage structure of some
Okay.
sort.
Good, okay. Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
I just didn't ask that right.
Yeah, that'd be ugly. Just leave an old road there. All right, so is there a motion?
I will move for approval.
We have a motion to approve 4805 and a second. If there's not objection, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission, your next order of business is to consider approval of a TEFRA approval allowing Ballard Helps to issue bonds for their refinancing efforts. I want to point out on this item that this approval would not in any way obligate the city for payment of Ballard's bonds. The purpose of the approval is to give the public the opportunity to object to the financing. This group held a public hearing on April 19th of 2020, at which there was opportunity for persons to be able to view and look at the information, and no one attended that meeting. But this is just the responsibility of the commission. It in no way requires that we're obligated for this money, but the money will be spent to improve facilities in the Ballard system, including some in Johnson City.
Are there other questions for staff? So we're looking for a motion to approve.
This is reviewed, just one other addition to that. We have a committee, and it's called the,
Health
Public
and Facilities
Health and-
Education.
Health and Education
Education.
Facilities Board.
right, and they have reviewed this and are recommending it coming forward.
Your approval is required by the IRS. So that's why it's before you.
I sort of totaled it up, and it's over $720 million worth of improvements that they're gonna make to all of their facilities.
That's almost $750 million.
It's close to it.
So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. If there's not further discussion, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Brock?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fowler?
Yes.
Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Thank you. I guess this is an opportunity to give a report. And I would ask Keisha to come up and talk a little bit. As she's coming up, I want to say, I want to acknowledge that our staff has been in transition on our financial system for a while. We have moved from a 1980s program in financial management and payroll to now moving into a system that's probably even beyond what we know right now. We have had so many staff that have been working on this initiative, and it has not been as successful as we would have wanted it to be at all. With, I think, our biggest concern being the payroll really having some issues. I did want to acknowledge that we have a team of people who have been doing everything that they can possibly do to make this right. We've met with the vendor to make sure they understand how important it is to get this right. I just want to commend the staff that we have for doing this, not only the staff that we have as a core team, but also all of their folks in every department that handle payroll. We had some significant issues with payroll in terms of police and fire in the last payroll. I want to use this as an opportunity to apologize to them for those errors and tell them that we will do everything we can to make this right. I've also communicated that through email. So I wanted to make you all aware of that. And I'm also going to use this as an opportunity. I'm kind of trying to figure out how best to use this time with you all to talk about an initiative or something that's going on. I have found in Johnson City, the item that you had just before you, I've worked in local government for 33 years, and I don't ever think I've seen that level of creativity from staff working with a developer to come up with a solution for a problem. I was going to Food City last night down that same street, and a car pulled out in front of me, and I almost hit them. And so that is so proactive, and that represents what people do that I want to be a part of that team. So, and I could name off several other things that I've seen happen with the staff that have caused me to realize that we have a lot of good folks working for the people of Johnson City. I did ask Keisha to talk a little bit more about your efforts in trying to recruit folks to be on boards and commissions. I think many of y'all before you came on as commissioners may have served on boards and commissions, and it's a great way to get to know the city better. I think this is another example of creativity on the parts of our communications and marketing team to get people engaged, but they have held different kinds of activities for people to know about boards and commissions. So I would ask Keisha to talk a little bit more about that and make sure folks know you still have time to sign up for boards and commissions.
Thank you. I'm going to let this play while I talk for just a minute. Since you did go to the twice-a-year application process, we've made a strong effort to really recruit a broad and deep pool of applicants for those boards. The Are You Ready to Serve event is just one way that we're doing that, and thank you all for attending that earlier this week. It was the second one that we've held. We did another event in the fall. Both were well attended. The fall one a little bit better than this one, I think, end of the school year maybe kept people involved in some other activities. But it's fun. It's a speed dating like event. I've spoken to the young professionals group. We came up with a game for them called The Board that's based on The Voice, and we played that so that they could learn a little bit more about the boards and committees. That was a group of about 30. And of course, we do traditional ways of outreach. We use social media, the message board at Science Hill, website features, press releases, and we do see a spike in applications that correlate to press coverage. So thank you to our media friends for helping us spread the word and this event. And I'm pleased that last fall, we had 72 applications for the entire period, and this spring we have 2 weeks left in the application period, and we already have 87. So we're making headway, and I think that is due in part to a real sustained effort to get the word out about the boards and committees. That is our call to action, one of a few. And whenever we have a captive audience, we ask people if they're looking for a job. We ask people if they want to learn more about government to sign up for JC 101, and if they are ready to serve, and ask for them to consider a board or committee. We do have some great community interest in our boards. We have a group that is hosting counseling or advice sessions at Langston on May 26th and June 2nd, where people can walk in and they can give them advice on how to complete a board application and talk to them about the boards. So that was exciting to hear that we've got some kind of grassroots efforts to help us gain those applicants. And we're also going to be adding a where did you hear about, the boards and committees section to the application, so we can really get some more good data to know how to target our marketing for those. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say, Keisha, thank y'all and your department and Ms. Ball for everything y'all do with that.
Thank you for having sunscreen available.
Oh, wait.
I saw a guy with a coat on. I'm like,
It's on the list
is
for
it the
next
same
time.
thing I was in?
Yeah. 4 years ago when I came on, it was hodgepodge for us with appointments, and, we came up with the idea to kind of consolidate it, but, I think really you all getting behind it and like you said, communicating how it is and how easy it is to find the boards that people might be able to participate and be interested in is key to the success and the growth of interest that we've seen over the past several years, and the improvements you make, recognizing things that can be tweaked to further improve. So I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner.
That matrix helps so much on sorting that out, too. I mean, that has been tremendous, so thanks.
Julia Thomas deserves
thank
a
you,
lot of
Julia.
credit for the back end of that, yeah. Thank you.
And maybe what, about 10 years, we should look to get some applicants from Town Acres?
They're ready.
They're ready now.
All right, just a few more years.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else? All right, do we have any individual commission reports? And Commissioner Murphy, do you have anything to share?
Not at this time.
All right, Vice Mayor?
Just, there's a soccer game, really important one going on, but it's in a lightning delay out there, so I might make the end of it if I hurry over
So
there.
you want us to speed this up?
No, it's still in a lightning delay, so there's no reason to rush over there right now.
Commissioner Hunter?
Bob Cantler and Julia Turpin stole my thunder. They both had board meetings, but they also gave their presentations today, so there you go.
Very good, both of them.
So you know how Brian Ross feels at a Randy Tribbett presentation. Okay.
You're going to have to let him do his job, Randy.
Commissioner Brock?
Yeah, I called Mrs. Ball yesterday. I've had just some really, the concerns about the prices of gas and people being able to afford to get to work and all that is how we might be able to really advertise more about our transit system. If people are having a hard time, filling up their cars to go to work, doing more to encourage riding the transit, and what we could do as a city to help us get through this period of time. Who knows when the prices are going to go back down? But I just think we all need to be thinking about, and we saw one of the slides in the presentations today that the employee said, I can't afford to fill my car up to get to work. And so if we can't come up with some creative ideas, you're going to have employers who, they're already having problems getting workers, and this is just going to be another thing. So consider filling your car up and then going to a $10 an hour job. So it's going to be a real challenge. But we have mass transit here in Johnson City, and what we can do to enhance and try to get people to ride it. And Commissioner Hunter, we were talking about it back in session this afternoon, said we just need to all go ride the transit and get some pictures of us riding it to encourage people to get out there. So let's go do it one day.
So based on the conversation, I don't know if Assistant City Manager Stahl can come up, but we have looked into the possibility of being able, through this gas crisis, to be able to offer a fare-free transit for a period of time, so to encourage folks to be able to ride transit for free as an incentive to get them on the bus. And I think we've looked at the cost associated with doing that, and I think we would have to work with the city attorney on what would need to go before the commission in order to approve something like that if you want to move forward. So I don't know if you can share with us information that you found out from the transit staff.
Yes, this is not something we have not explored in the past. In fact, we actually have had a few times in the past where there has been a waive fee for a summer or period of time, just in part was to attract transit riders. But most recently, and I had to be reminded of this, frankly, is during the height of the pandemic, there was actually a federal incentive that with enhanced revenue coming to transit, we took the additional revenue coming to transit and we offset that by providing a fee waiver for about a 4-month period of time, beginning in the summer months of 2020. That was a limited period of time, but it was a twofold incentive to provide an opportunity not only to promote the transit during a time of lessened ridership, but there was enhanced money from the federal government. So we could come back with a proposal as early as next meeting if you'd like to consider it. you know, that'd be something we're not opposed to recommending. We just want to make sure that you're fine with the revenue that would be absorbed within our operations and have a definite understanding of how long we would offer the fee waiver for.
And if we could do some marketing, a ride all out plan on how we get people really kind of trained on how to ride the transit. I don't know all the routes and all that kind of thing, but the question is for someone who would utilize it to try to get to work, can I get to work on the transit?
And it may be good if we did get the commission together one day and get on the bus
That'd be
and
good,
get some of that to be able to.
I think our transit director would welcome your ridership if you have an interest in doing so.
Well, I was watching the news the other night, and Commissioner Murphy was being interviewed in his role from Good Sam, and the whole interview was about the gas program that y'all have and how many people were coming that requesting for help that had never come before. And so, we've got some big challenges right now, and our folks who are hardworking, hourly workers, it's affecting them most, for sure. I mean, I know my husband complains because he fills his truck up for $120 now to fill a F-250 up. And just imagine people who, and the other thing, and I will share this, we're sharing things, and, I was filling my car up a couple of weeks ago, and I watched this lady with 2 kids in the back seat looking under the seat of her car trying to find change, to probably put a half gallon in her car. So we've got some people hurting out there, and if we could do something with our transit, I think it would be a good step in the right direction. Thank you.
And to echo what Commissioner Brock has shared, on behalf of Good Samaritan, we have experienced our numbers double for gas vouchers. And this is the most requests we have ever seen through the history of our organization. We've been in existence for 35 years. We've had this program for over 10. And these requests are coming by way of families who have never asked for requests for anything. And so this gas increase, gas prices are really impacting our community in a negative way.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I'd love for us to see it come back if that would be good. Thank you.
I think that is it. If there's no further business, we would stand adjourned. Are we